Hello.
It's back. The lamp.
It's back. Hello,
Our rare-
citizens of YouTube land.
Hey.
It's your president and your VP. And we're back with a very special nighttime edition.
Yeah. Be prepared to cry. That's all I'm saying, because today we're looking at the 2012 novel Wonder. My goodness, I was reading this again for like the third or fourth time, and even still, even today, it still makes me cry, and it's really emotional. Like, the ending is emotional, not because it's like sadness, but it's just because of everything that this kid goes through with that throughout the novel. Mind you, they're in 5th grade, so it's kind of setting the scene here. It takes place in New York City. It takes place in New York City, specifically North River Heights, to be exact. The neighborhood in Manhattan, North River Heights. Just to give you a little bit of the setting. It mostly takes place. It takes place in that neighborhood, and it takes place in a. I do believe it's a fictional school. I don't know for sure if it is or isn't, but it takes place in a fictional school named Beecher Prep, which is a preparatory school. And there's even some excerpts of some songs in the book that are here, including one from Space Oddity. So that's actually kind of cool. That's featured in some of the chapters that are split into parts, because the book follows more of a journal style entry type writing, and then the parts are the actual chapters. So like chapter 1 is named part 1, and it's August. It's part 1, and then it moves on to chapter 2, which is his sister Via, and then so on and so forth. So I thought I'd also share a little bit of the writing style, which is a journal writing style of the book. Mind you, Dad has never read this book. I have 3 times.
I have seen the film that's based on it.
Dad has seen the film, the 2017 film that is based on this. Mind you, again, this book is just really sad, mostly because of the stuff that the kid August goes through. Now, it's not like he has a facial deformity. It's something really weird and wacky, and I think she actually, like, I think this is a real thing, but it's like some sort of stupid, like, I don't even know how it's even pronounced, but it's basically like 2 different genes kind of like smushed together to make this kid's face the way it is, and it's like how in the heck does this even happen? Turns out it's literally the chances of you winning the lottery. That's how rare it is. So,
Well, I'll interject for just a moment, guys, and I'll mention the fact that what he would be talking about here is considered an anomaly, among the human species. And we do have some genetic mutations from time to time. And that's probably what he's talking about here, is that it's a genetic mutation.
yeah, it's a genetic mutation of 2 genes, actually, that basically merged into one, and it's so that these 2 genes are so rare, and the fact that both of his parents had the gene, and it was just like, how? It's so rare to see it. But anyways, basically the book starts out with him basically just like saying how ordinary he is, but he's not really ordinary because of his face. Because he even says in the book and in the movie, ordinary kids don't make other kids scream on the playground when they see their face. So yeah, kind of setting the mood there for how this is going to actually turn out to be. So there, some of the key figures in this that I should mention are August himself. Then there's his friend Summer. Then there's his friend Jack Will. Then there's the main antagonist, because it turns out apparently he has justifiable actions, Julian Albans, in the Julian chapter, which I'll have to read if I ever get my hands on Augie and Me. But there's the main villain, Julian, who bullies this kid throughout the book. I don't know why. He's one of those stuck up rich types. You know, he's like, oh, I could get away with anything because my parents are rich and my parents are the board of the school. My parents are also the board of directors and blah blah blah. And we're also the boosters and all that. And we do everything for the school. And I can get away with anything. That type of kid.
There are a lot of them out there.
And he basically acts one way around kids and then another way around adults.
Let me interject for just a second again. That is what's called the Eddie Haskell syndrome. And I know I'm dating myself here. I'm a bit of an old man, but it's a Leave It to Beaver reference in that Wally, Beaver's older brother, had a friend named Eddie Haskell who would act all sweet and innocent in front of the adults, but act like a terrorizer in front of the kids.
Yeah, but it's not acting like a terrorizer. It's more of like full force bullying, like calling him names. He makes a Star Wars reference by calling August Darth Sidious due to his face. Which, to be honest, it's just like it's stupid, but the reason why he even makes the whole Darth Sidious reference is because August has a Padawan braid in his hair, and it like took him a while to even like make it. So yeah, like I said, so basically he goes to school 2 weeks before it begins in September. Now there's the thing. I don't know when school starts in New York because mind you, this is in New York, but here in Branson, school doesn't start until school starts at like the 20th of August. Not in September. Not in like in the middle of September.
Let me interject for just a second again.
Mind you, this is a private school, so maybe it could be different.
As a young kid growing up in southeast Texas, it was actually a thing that we didn't start school in that particular area until after Labor Day. So that may be why it starts in September.
Well, I don't know. Like I said, it takes place in New York, so I don't know how New York schools are, but I know that like because it is a private school, it could be different. But basically, then like you know, he gets shown around the school. It's like this big, nice, fancy school, fancier than Branson. Which, if you know Branson schools, they're actually pretty fancy because, well, Branson can thrust its money into
tourist money, guys.
Yeah. Branson could literally thrust its money into its school program, and then literally just like make even more money and still be rich. So, like I said, it's like this big fancy school. It has like this fancy art. It has like this fancy art hallway, and it has its fancy science program where it's like the hardest elective to do. And then it's like even in it made me laugh both in the book and in the movie when like Julian is like bullying him and stuff. And it's like, oh yeah, and this is an eraser. And it's like, I'm pretty sure he knows what an eraser is. And then he's like, well, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know what he knows. He's been homeschooled for his entire life. And it's like, I'm pretty sure his mom would have taught him what an eraser was, though. And then he completely one-ups him by, I'm going to quote the book here because I can. But I'm going to quote from the book where it's like Julian mispronounced a word, and then August just completely roasts this kid, and it's awesome and funny, and I just really like it. I'm trying to find it, guys. I'm sorry. Here, Dad, talk while I find this quote. I'm trying to find it. I'm sorry.
Well, I don't have.
You can ask me questions as I find this.
So. How different is the book from the movie?
The movie does get some, like, parts of the book wrong, and there are, like, certain events that happen differently than they do in the book. like how August meets Summer for the first time. In the book, he meets her at the lunch table on the first day of school, while in the movie, it happens after this big fight he has with his best friend, after his best friend says some stuff that can kind of get a little. But, anyways, I found the quote, but. He then, so August, Julian said, supposedly, which is not a real word, but he's like, supposedly, it's the hardest like to get into. And then August says, the word is supposedly, by the way. And then Julian's like, what are you talking about? You said, suppose, I can't speak today.
Supposedly.
No, it's right there, that word. I can't.
Supposedly?
Yeah, supposedly, but the word is actually supposedly. And then Julian's like, I did not. And then everybody's like, yeah, you did. He's like, shut up. Let's just go on to the next room. So it's like he completely roasts this kid after he's bullying him. He's like, yeah, by the way, the word is supposedly instead of supposedly. I'm like...
So does he get to go to like the space camp like he does in the movie? Remember where they're at the camp?
The nature reserve?
Yeah.
Yes. And that's also where the big fight scene happens as well, and is also in the nature reserve, which I'll get to that later. But basically, like, in the book, during the Halloween portion of it, I'm skipping a few parts here, but basically in the first day of school, afterwards he like meets all of his teachers, and then there's this really cool teacher. In the movie, I will explain this. In the movie, they do switch his teachers around. Like, he actually his homeroom teacher isn't Mr. Brown like it is in the movie, if you remember correctly, but it's actually his English teacher, but he still also has all those precepts as well.
This is kind of weird, because I don't remember, I mean, when I was in 5th grade, I do remember kind of going to classes a little bit, starting that, but not full-fledged with all kinds of different teachers.
It's private school, Dad.
Well, maybe it's a little bit different though.
Yeah, but anyways, there's like this. I'm gonna quote the book on this, but there's a there's in the Halloween portion, August, he's all excited and stuff, and he's like, because Halloween is his favorite day, because he gets to wear a mask and nobody can see his face. And he literally even says that he high-fived another person wearing a Scream mask because he was going as the Bleeding Scream. He high-fives that person, and he's like, I just high-fived that person. He doesn't even know that it was me under this mask. Best day ever.
Yeah, I think they did that in the movie.
Yeah, they did it in the movie, too. But there's a part in the book I want to talk about that makes... it's a little iffy because of one of the reason why it's just it's because of the thing that Jack Will says in the book. Again, I'm trying to find it again. I'm sorry, guys. I'm like flipping through every page so I can see this. Oh yeah, here are some of the names that he gets called out. Gets called Rat Boy, Freak, Monster, Freddy Krueger, E.T., Gross Out, Lizardface, Mutant. That's some of the names he gets called at school. There's even one part where he even gets called Zombie Boy.
Well.
Oh, wait.
Kids are evil. They can be really evil towards each other.
Alright, so here's a quote in the book. So this is coming from his friend Jack Will, who's, he's hanging out with his friends, and he's kind of going with the flow, but this really hits August hard. I've thought about this a lot, said the second Mummy, sounding serious, and I really think, if I looked like him, seriously, I think that I'd kill myself. It's coming from the book. So yeah, you don't really want to say that around a kid who's being bullied, and he's pretty much been bullied all his life from kids, because kids can be cruel. Kids can be cruel. They're one of the worst things ever. Like,
and he is a kid.
Yeah, I know this. Teenagers especially can be cruel. But it's like there's this one comedian. Okay, I'm gonna lighten the mood up here a little bit, but there's a comedian I was watching on America's Got Talent who like didn't really have his arms and stuff, but he's like you know what can ruin your day? Getting verbally kicked below the belt by an 8-year-old girl. And I'm like, yes. But yeah, like I said, that's just an example. But so he basically then goes to the nurse saying that he isn't feeling well, and basically then just like pieces out of there. And that's when we get the Via's chapter, which is his older sister, who's basically kind of been living under his shadow for a lot of her life since he was born, because basically, as she puts it, the universe, the sun is August, and her parents are the planets that orb around August, and that's basically how it is. And then there's also another part in the book where somebody says that the universe wasn't kind to August, and there's a theme around like how much it was like, what did this kid deserve to get what he got? And it's something that's touched upon a lot in the book through the different chapters that aren't focused solely on August. And then Jack Will, he does redeem himself, by the way, by saying that in the book, it's still kind of mean, but kind of not, but in the book, because Julian had been pulling a bunch of stuff on August by, like, calling him different names and stuff, and I already read you some of the names, and just, like, there was even, like, a part where his family is even as worse as he is, by the way, they photoshopped August's face out, like his face and his entire body, yes. So that way when they had guests over, they wouldn't be solely focused on August, but it would be on their handsome specimen of a son. To put it bluntly. Like that's how much his family thinks of August. But Jack Will, he does redeem himself by becoming friends again with August. And then August he says, "Would you really kill yourself if you looked like me?" He's like, "No, but I would if I looked like Julian." So I mean, there's that. And then it comes to the big nature reserve part of the book, where in the movie there's another thing that they get wrong. In the movie, they're actually playing the sound of in the book they're playing the Sound of Music. For their movie type thing that they're having, but in the movie Wonder, they're actually playing the movie. The Wizard of Oz. So I don't know why, but
Well, I can understand that in so many ways as far as the Wizard of Oz goes, because to me, it would draw a deep parallel to the fact that Augie just wants to be accepted, and that can kind of connotate to being no place like home.
Yeah.
Because when he's out in the real world, in the movie, and probably in the book too, people are so cruel and mean to him. But when he's at home, everything's cool.
Yeah. But it's like, so basically, Jackie basically has to go. He has to go to the bathroom, and so then they go out into the woods, and then they meet the 7th graders, and then one of them's like, "Holy crap! Look at his face!" You know, like, and then they just like start, and then one of them's like, "Oh, look at that! Gollum from, I didn't know we were watching The Lord of the Rings because Gollum has just popped out of the screen." And I'm like, really? And so then a couple of Augie's his friends now after this point, because Julian is basically just went, and his popularity after the whole after this whole feud type thing that's going on with Jack. Basically, that's done now, and he's just like there. He's just like an annoyance. And so then afterwards, he basically then there's like this whole huge like fight that goes on the nature reserve with the seventh graders. And mind you, these seventh graders are apparently huge, and they just got beat up by a bunch of fifth graders. That's pathetic.
In a way.
That's pathetic. But also, in a way, it's also cool that August was able to have some friends by him to basically beat up a bunch of seventh graders. And so then we get to the final portion of the book where it's basically their graduation, and then Mr. Tushman, his principal, I forgot to say this, he makes this incredible speech. I don't know if I have the actual time, if I want to keep this under like 30 minutes to read off the speech, but there's this speech that he says in the book that just makes it amazing. And he puts in I'm going to try to read all of it because it's just an amazing speech, and I can't believe that the author was able to make such a good speech. And I'm pretty sure this will ring bells because they say it word for word, line for line in the movie. But he's like, every year, continued Mr. Tushman, reading from the notes with his glasses way down on the tip of his nose, I am in charge with writing 2 commitments at address, one for the 5th and 6th grade graduation ceremony today, and one for the 7th and 8th grade ceremony that will take place tomorrow. Every year I say to myself, let me cut down one on my work and write just one address that I can use for both situations. Seems like it shouldn't be such a hard thing to do, right? And yet each year I still end up with 2 different speeches no matter what my intentions. And finally I figured out why this year. It's not, as you might assume, simply because tomorrow I'll be taking to an older crowd with a middle school experience that is largely behind them, whereas your middle school experience is largely in front of you. No, I think it has to do more with the particular age that you are right now. This particular moment in your lives that even after 20 years of my being around students this age still moves me. Because you are at the cusp, kids. You're at the edge between childhood and everything that comes after. You're in a transition. We all gather here together, Mr. Tushman continued, taking off his glasses, using them to point at all of us in the audience. All your families, friends, and teachers. To celebrate not only your achievements of the past year, Beecher middle schoolers, but your endless possibilities. When you reflect this past year, I want you all to look at where you are now and where you've been. You've all gotten a little taller, a little stronger, a little smaller, a little smarter. Smaller. Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. I hope. Here and some people in the audience chuckled. But the best way to measure how much you've grown isn't by inches or the numbers of laps you can run around the track or even your grade point average. Those things are important, to be sure, is what you've done with your time, how you've chosen to spend your days, and whom you've touched this year. That, to me, is the greatest measure of success. There's a wonderful line by J.M. Barrie, and no, it's not Peter Pan, and I'm going to ask you to clap if you believe in fairies. Here, everyone laughed again, but in another J.M. Barrie called The Little White Bird, he writes. He starts flipping through the small book on the podium and he finds the page he was looking for, and then he puts on his reading glasses. Shall we make a new rule of life? Always try to be a little kinder than is necessary. Here, Mr. Tushman looks up to the audience. Kinder than is necessary, he repeats. What a marvelous line, isn't it? Kinder than is necessary. Because it's not enough to be kind. One should be kinder than needed. Why I love that line, that concept, is that it reminds me of what we carry with us as human beings. Not just the capacity to be kind, but every choice of kindness. And what does that mean? how it is measured, you can't use a yardstick. It's like I was saying just before, it's not like measuring how much you've grown in a year. It's not exactly quantifiable, is it? How do we know what we've been kind? What is being kind anyways? He put on his reading glasses again and starts flipping through another small book. There's another passage in a different book that I'd like to share with you. If you'll bear with me while I find it, here we go. And Under the Eyes of the Clock by Christopher Nolan, the main character is a young man who's facing some extraordinary challenges. There's one part where someone helps him, a kid in his class. On the surface, it's a small gesture, but to this young man whose name is Joseph, it is, well, if you permit me. He cleared his throat and he read from the book. It was at moments such as these that Joseph recognized that the face of God in human form. It glimmered in their kindness to him. It glowed in their needness. It hinted at their caring indeed as it caressed in their gaze. He paused and took off his reading glasses again. It glimmered in their kindness to him, he repeated, smiling. Such simple things. Such a simple thing, kindness. Such a simple thing, a nice word of encouragement given when needed, an act of friendship, and a passing smile. He closed the book down and he leaned forward on the podium. Children, what I want to impart to you today is understanding of the value of a simple thing called kindness. And that's all I want to leave with you today. I know I'm kind and infamous for my verborosity. Here, everyone laughed again. I guess he knew he was known for his long speeches. But what I want you, my students, to take away from your middle school experience, he continued, is sure knowledge that in the future you make for yourselves anything is possible. Every single person in this room make it a rule that wherever you are, whenever you can, you will try to act a little kinder than is necessary. The world really needs to be a better place. And if you do this, if you act just a little kinder than is necessary, someone else, somewhere, someday, may recognize you, and every single one of you, the face of God. He paused and shrugged, or whatever politically correct spiritual representation of universal goodness you happen to believe in. He added, quickly smiling, which got a lot of laughs and loads of applause, especially from the back of the auditorium where the parents were sitting. That speech right there always amazes me, and it makes me a little emotional. Like it always does, and I knew I couldn't get it under 25 minutes, so let's try to make it under the time limit here. But basically, it then ends with an award ceremony, and then August he gets chosen for the Henry Beecher Award, or Henry Ward Beecher Award, which is basically just like the most outstanding student that there possibly ever is, and it was because of his kindness, and that's why I brought up that speech. And then at the very end of the book, it ends with just such a simple line. This is his mom doing this. She bent down and whispered in my ear, "You really are a wonder, Augie. You really are a wonder." Just a simple line that could just have so much meaning. And every time I read that line, it makes me almost cry, because because of all the stuff that this kid goes through, and then he gets recognized for that award. That makes me cry. Almost makes me cry. And then that line there just shows how much of an impact that he really has, and that's why he is a wonder.
So, what's your rating for it?
A 5 out of 5. Definitely a must read. You must read it.
Yeah, and we're not going to do our whole little outro that we usually do with this one, because we don't really need to. Guys, definitely check out the book.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No. With that being said, look out tomorrow, as we'll be doing a Lifetime movie and Big Shots tomorrow.
Yeah, starting a new Disney series for you guys tomorrow, Big Shot. Also going to try to get the Coming to America reviews out very soon for the subscriber request. And also the Emoji Movie. So guys, look for those in the near future. And of course, as always,
Peace and love from Denny and Son.
Bye.